Welcome back, Patriots, to the Ball Bride Show. It is Thursday, May 23rd. And as always, Joe Biden is still, by far, not even close, the worst president in American history. Patriots, it's great being back with you on this fine Thursday morning. If you haven't already, hit that like and subscribe button. Don't forget to take a moment and leave a comment down below on how terrible Joe Biden is. And speaking of the man, folks, Joe Biden got his butt whooped by the teleprompter again. I've always said it. It's the most insane statistic in all of politics. Joe Biden's teleprompter is going on undefeated, has never lost in 4 years, duking it out with good old Joey. Things were so bad that the White House had to issue 9 corrections to Biden's NAACP speech transcript. It's so wild. Folks, his first gaffe came at the beginning of the speech where he said this: "When I was vice president, things were kind of bad during the pandemic," Biden said near the beginning of his remarks. And what happened was Barack Obama said to me, "Go to Detroit and help fix it." No, Joe, that didn't happen. And so the White House was cleaning up Joey's diaper and his words, saying the next day that the White House implied that Biden intended to say the word recession, referencing the Great Recession when he assumed the vice presidency in 2009. No wonder they don't want this Robert Hur deposition to come out, because it's damning. It's already damning enough, the fact that this dude can't sit there and clean up his speeches and his words as he's reading from a teleprompter. It's a remarkable thing. I always say this because I think it's hilarious. The other week he was going, "I drove 18-wheelers. No, you didn't, Joe. You don't even know how to drive stick. You don't know what an 18-wheeler is. You wouldn't know an 18-wheeler if it hit you, Joe. I sat there and was an activist for black people in Pennsylvania." No, you weren't, Joe. No, you weren't. "I look at Dr. King's bust when I'm at the Resolute desk." Okay, maybe that one's true, but you did not work with Dr. King on behalf of the blacks. You didn't, Joe. I'm sorry, you didn't. This guy sounds like he just thinks he can get away with it, and partially he does. "I was an astronaut. I was one of the 12 on the Apollo missions to walk on the moon." No, it's so outlandish. He didn't say that, okay? But it's the type of nonsense this guy spews, and people just believe it on the Democrat side of the aisle. No wonder they don't want that deposition to come out. No wonder they're sitting and not allowing it to come out to the American people because of how damaging it would be. The dude didn't know when he was vice president. He didn't know when his son died. He probably didn't even know he had a son. It's truly, truly remarkable stuff. And other things that are remarkable is Joe Biden is planning on utilizing our oil reserves again to sit there and kind of push down prices at the pump this summer. This dude sucks at everything. Remember, he took a portion of our reserve and sold it off to China. And allegedly, the province that he sold it off to, his son, Hunter Biden, had business investments in that province. Go figure. You know, the oil reserve that's supposed to be used for like hurricanes or natural disasters for Americans so they could sit there and actually fuel up their vehicles. Well, this psycho on Tuesday, the Biden administration announced the decision to sell 1 million barrels of gasoline to the commercial market from a reserve in a bid to push down prices at the pump this summer. It's not going to do anything. We use almost 9 million barrels a day. This is such a waste. It's a drop in the bucket. Keep it there as an emergency fund so that people can utilize it, I don't know, when there's an emergency, because they're already struggling to fill the reserve back up, of which Joe Biden got rid of and sent it off to everybody else when it's supposed to be used for Americans. So the plan comes as President Joe Biden is running for a second term in the White House in this year's November election, while dealing with the scourge of inflation, at fact that Republican officials noted in reacting to the decision. President Biden is yet again using America's emergency fuel reserves to cover for his disastrous inflation policies in an election year. Absolutely not wrong. Stores from the Northeast Gasoline Supply Reserve will be sold in a competitive bidding process to help lower costs for American families and consumers in the run-up to Independence Day per the Energy Department, the same Energy Department that's struggling to fill the actual reserve of which it lost previously, like I said, going to each and everybody else other than actual Americans. What's also astonishing here is if you want to sit there and lower the burden at the pump for Americans, why don't you just drill domestically, Joe? Why don't you drill domestically? I'll tell you why he doesn't. Because he campaigned on getting rid of the fossil fuel industry, and then he's completely baffled the fact that gas prices are going up because demand is up and the supply isn't as high as it would have been if he would have just drilled domestically. The guy sucks at everything, and people will show up in the millions to vote for this guy. And as I mentioned, again, the press release was how the United States, as of recently, was consuming an average of almost 9 million barrels of gasoline per day, meaning it's not going to do anything. But Joe wakes up one morning on the wrong side of the bed, somehow gets out of the bed, and tells his own people, let's start selling our oil reserve to sit there and move gas prices down when, again, it's not going to do anything. So, speaking of reserves and getting things out to people, none of the aid Biden has sent to Gaza through the pier of which terrorists attacked twice has reached Palestinians. Much of it is stolen. Now, you're about to hear from the White House themselves, specifically Jake Sullivan, on this whole thing. But let's give you a little bit of truth before we get to the lies coming from the White House. So none of the aid that President Joe Biden has sent to Gaza via a floating pier that the U.S. military constructed has reached the Palestinian people. God, that's really weird. Really weird, right? Because that's your tax dollars that's funding all of this. So where's it going? Because the other stuff that was coming in via truck was also being stolen by Hamas and being sold on the black market and also wasn't going to the Palestinians. But the White House isn't going to tell you that either. The Pentagon spokesperson said on Tuesday that none of the 569 tons with a T of aid transported to Gaza since last week has reached the Palestinian people. It's remarkable. The U.S. military is delivering the aid to the causeway. It's then taken by non-U.S. contractors, driven over onto shore, put into an assembly area, which is where the NGOs that are supporting this effort pick it up and take it for onward distribution. But as I mentioned, via some discussions that have happened again, as we work to process and get the stuff out through procedures, alternative routes for the safe movement of that cargo have been established, and aid is now being taken from those assembly areas to warehouses for further distribution throughout Gaza. Folks, look, they're not getting the stuff. They're about to tell you something different. Biden's $320 million pier that you all paid for is at risk of becoming yet another failure for the 81-year-old president. At the UN World Food Program, it's astonishing stuff. Why is it just us giving them food? Like, where's everybody else at on this? You know what I mean? Like maybe all the other nations that surround Israel and Gaza maybe bringing in aid themselves. Why is it mostly the U.S. and the United Kingdom and all our allies? Like, where's everybody else at on this? So here's Jake Sullivan. Here's Jake Sullivan in the White House telling us truth. I put that in air quotes for those on audio because it's nothing but lies regarding this whole situation. Let's roll it.
You talk about one of the key objectives, of course, is the provision of humanitarian aid and food to the people of Gaza. The Pentagon within the last 24 hours said that they did not believe that any of the aid from the pier, where the construction was led by the United States military, has been received by the people of Gaza to this point. Your thoughts on that, given this, has this been a failure? How do we fix this situation, and was the U.S. insufficiently prepared to utilize this as a means by which to deliver aid?
First, just to level set, since Saturday, the UN has in fact distributed humanitarian supplies from the pier to Palestinian civilians in Deir al-Balah, in al-Mawasi, and in Khan Yunis.
So aid from the pier has now gone specifically to the Palestinians who need it?
That's correct. And there's been about 695 metric tons of food that has come off the pier so far. About 2/3 of that either has gone or is on its way to going to Palestinian civilians. The issue is not actually getting food to the pier.
That's not what we just heard, Jake. That is not what we just heard. Somebody's lying here. It's either the White House or the boots on the ground, meaning the U.S. military's lying. Somebody's lying here, Jake. I'm being told the Palestinians aren't getting the food that's being stolen and it's being sold on the black market, and you're telling us something different. Now, here's the thing, Jake. Here's the thing. Let me tell you. Okay, let's pause it for 1 second. Here's the thing. If Joe Biden didn't lie to us as much, Karine Jean-Pierre didn't lie to us as much, You didn't lie to us as much. Well, you're Jake Tapper, or not Jake Tapper. Holy Lordy, Jake Sullivan here. Who else is on the White House? Anthony Blinken didn't lie to us as much. Kamala Harris didn't lie to us as much. You got freaking the other dodo head, John Kirby, not lying to us as much. If you didn't lie to us as much, then we would probably believe you. But I think I'm going to believe the general from the United States military more than I believe you, Jake. Here we go.
Here off the pier, it's being able to ensure that we have necessary security arrangements in place to deliver it. We have had modalities to get some of that aid distributed. We are in the process of building out to get more of it distributed. So the answer to your initial question is no, it's not a failure of planning. Yes, it is an indication this is a dynamic environment and we need to continue to refine. But aid is flowing. It is not flowing at the rate that any of us would be happy with because we always want more. But we are actually seeing good cooperation between the U.S., the IDF, the UN, and other humanitarian organizations to ensure that aid goes from that pier to innocent people in need, and we'll continue to do that as we go forward.
Just a question. I heard all these things of United Nations, IDF, United States. You know, I shouldn't hear anything about Palestinians. You know, I shouldn't hear anything about Hamas that was elected on behalf of the Palestinians. Like, aren't the Palestinians, Hamas, aren't those kind of the ones you want to work with in terms of giving them the food and aid and everything else that we're supplying them? Isn't that what we're supposed to do here? And like I mentioned, there's millions of people in Gaza. Again, where's everybody else at? Where's the news of China flying in, 1,000 tons of food, or India flying in thousands of food? Like, where's all the news at with like everybody? I don't see planes from other nations flying stuff in. Do any of you? I don't see other nations building piers with their own taxpayer dollars. Does anybody else see this? Why is the United States supplying all this stuff all the time?
The situation in Iran, obviously, we're within the 5 days of mourning after the loss of two of the key leaders.
So there's some mourning going on there, and rightfully so. Some really terrible stuff and tragic stuff taking place. Well, speaking of terrible and tragic stuff taking place, Joe Biden's breaking the law again, folks.
It's that time.
Joe Biden is breaking the law again. The Biden administration, and we're going to hear from them because Karine Jean-Pierre got destroyed by the media today during that White House press briefing. The Biden administration announces more student debt forgiveness, $7.7 billion for 160,000 borrowers. This is truly wild stuff. And Karine Jean-Pierre gets reamed by the press yesterday. We're going to see Peter, not Peter Doocy, but the Peter we just saw, questioning her on the student loan debt forgiveness. And then we have another reporter, forgive me, I actually don't know his name, really just laying into her regarding this. Let's roll it.
You opened today's briefing by talking about the latest student loan cancellations for, I think we said, what did we say, in total 4.75 million Americans now. I think it's 160,000. This latest round, Mike Johnson, the Republican House Speaker, today described this as a massive wealth transfer for Americans who did not attend college to those who did. And he described it as a shameful play to buy more votes 6 months before an election.
I will say to the congressional member, Mike Johnson, obviously the speaker, is that what is shameful is that Republicans continue to get in the way of helping us deliver a little bit of breathing room for Americans who deserve that opportunity, you heard me talk about
just a question. Let me know in the comment section, you guys. Why do they deserve it? Like, what did these people do to deserve their student loans to be forgiven and paid on behalf of a bunch of people that didn't go to college themselves or didn't think the risk of taking out a loan was worthwhile to go to college? So they went to a trade school or went somewhere else in the direction of career choice. So what did these people do specifically to deserve having their debt forgiven? And why, again, I've been asking this literally since this bonehead administration started. Why are we stopping at student debt? Why aren't we looking at credit cards? Credit cards is almost as high as student debt. Student debt's higher than credit cards nowadays, but it's still a problem nonetheless. And if you want to give people breathing room, wouldn't you be able to reach more people by relieving or forgiving credit card debt? Or why don't we look at people's auto loans? Why are we not looking at that? Why are we not looking at people's mortgages, Karine, if you want to give them some more breathing room? Why are we not looking at all these other things? Really weird, isn't it? Really weird. Now, if people are serving in the military and went on behalf to fight for this country, I think if they do have student debt, I'm willing to forgive it. I think that's a good trade-off. Let me know what you think about that one in the comment section below. But she's just going to say, well, they deserve it.
Tiffany, the young woman who one of the things that people should know, and if you don't, is that when folks are receiving these debt relief announcements from the president, they have an opportunity to tell their story. They have an opportunity to say why this matters to them. And we're talking about millions of Americans who now have an opportunity to start a life, have an opportunity to move forward in a way where they can reach that American dream or reach whatever it is that they wanted to do, not just for themselves, for their families. So we believe, and the president's not going to walk away from doing that. He believes it's an important commitment that he made to Americans. It is a broken system. It is a broken system.
I guess the question, though,
Yeah.
is what
I'm sorry, I just don't know what's broken about it. I really don't. I think school is high, but aren't you making the decision to go to a 4-year university that's probably not a great return on your investment, to where you're taking out $300,000 of student loans to get a degree in lesbian dance theory that's only going to pay you $10,000 a year, $30,000, $40,000? Isn't that the person, the individual's fault for maybe not looking at the rate of return, but you're going to say the system is broken? I mean, I'm not saying it's great, but isn't that something you have to analyze on an individual level? And it's not the responsibility of the American public to bail you out on every single bad and poor decision you do financially? Because if we do that, we will crumble as a society. But this is what the Democrats do. This is what they do. They're all about equality. Somebody did something stupid, so you have to pay for it.
What then is the White House's message to those Americans who did not attend college for a variety of reasons, perhaps, including perhaps that they didn't want to take on all the debt that went with it right now, that they feel like in some form they are responsible for allowing those who did not to pay their fair share?
So look, here's
Thank you. The press showed up today. Thank you, Peter.
thing. This is a president who has been very clear about making sure that he's building an economy that leaves no one behind, right? Making sure that
Being left behind, the ones who didn't get support because they didn't go to
I
college?
hear your question, but this is, if you look at what the president has done more holistically over the past 3.5 years, he has tried to build an economy for everyone. This is one part of his economic policy. When you think about creating 15 million jobs, many of those jobs, if you think about the different legislation that he's obviously passed into law, whether it's the bipartisan infrastructure legislation, CHIPS and Science Act, it's creating jobs that are good union-paying jobs, where you don't need a college education, right? Where you can make 6 figures and actually have that opportunity to start your family. He is creating an economy from the bottom up, middle out, making sure that the millionaires, the billionaires and corporations are paying their fair share, right? Not like Republicans in Congress who want to give them a tax giveaway. So he's trying to make sure this is one part of it.
She's going to sit there, which isn't true, by the way, talking about giving the millionaires and billionaires a tax giveaway. She's going to bitch about that, which is not true, by the way, complete fabricated. She pulled that out of her ass to going, hey, well, we're going to spend $7.7 billion giving people a free giveaway. And we're going to be selective about it. Oh, you didn't pay for college yourself. You thought it was a bad rate of return, so you didn't do it. You made actually a good financial decision. Well, you're getting reamed. In the same way, if you go out and get a mortgage, you are reamed nowadays by the Biden administration for actually having good credit. Let that one sink in. You sit there and pay your bills on time. You sit there and work towards getting a good credit score, and now you're penalized for it, versus those that have a rough credit score forever, whatever reason it may be, actually have a better incentive of getting a loan at a different rate than you, who has a good credit score, all because the Biden administration sucks ass.
His economic policy, but as he's thinking forward, as he's looking at all Americans, all communities, he wants to make sure that there is an economy that doesn't leave anybody behind. And as historically, that trickle-down economics does not work, and he does not want to see that. So we have given opportunities, and we want to continue to give opportunities for folks who feel like they need a little bit more help.
And I guess just to put a fine point on it right now, for the 4.7 million Americans who have received this debt relief, the average, as you said at the start of this visit, was $35,000 their relief has been for. So I guess why don't those individuals who didn't receive $35,000 in debt cancellation deserve a $35,000 check from other Americans for what other means they would want to use it?
You're talking about
Those people who didn't go to college, so they're not getting debt relief, the $35,000 that they don't get because they didn't go.
We're talking about folks who are in debt who are literally being crushed because they took
Literally being crushed. Let's be
financially. Okay, is that okay with you? Okay, but I know. but crushed financially. And so they're trying to get their lives back on track, right? They're trying to get into a place because they took a bet on themselves in a different way, right? A bet of themselves in going to college. And some of them, it is difficult to do that, right? And they did that financially, it's hurt them, and we want to give them that breathing room. But it's not just folks who have debt because of colleges. We're trying to help people in different communities as well. Folks who don't have to get that college degree and can make six-figure salaries.
You guys, she just admitted to the fact that these people gambled on themselves and lost, and that you're responsible for that. Dude, what the F? Yeah, they sat there and they bet on themselves, and well, you know, shit, they lost their money. Then why are you responsible for it? Shit, everybody else that gambles in Vegas, I guess you're responsible for all the debt that they put on their credit card because they lost the money because, well, they bet on themselves. Well, shit, they went to Vegas and played roulette and put their entire retirement on black. Well, shit, it turns out it didn't work. I guess you're responsible now for the retirement that they just fucking lost. People make bad decisions all the time financially. And yes, it can ruin you. That's why you want to take it seriously and maybe talk to somebody that has their head on straight before you go do something that's irrational and stupid. So now we're responsible for everybody's idiotic behavior. That's basically what they're saying. That is what she said. Tell me if I'm wrong. That is literally what she just said there. Well, because somebody made a stupid decision and they didn't get the outcome they liked, and now they drove themselves into crippling debt because of a bad bet that they made, well, you are responsible for the taxpayer, whether you signed or didn't sign. And as I mentioned before, regarding this whole thing, you're now a co-signer to everybody's loan according to the Democrat Party. They suck. And she gets called out big time here by another reporter regarding all of this. And boy, oh boy, watch the show, folks.
Go ahead.
Just wanted to follow up on the student loan debt forgiveness.
Yeah.
In the announcement, the Undersecretary of Education said, "We congratulate those borrowers on their due forgiveness." I'm just wondering why people who take out a loan to go to school, then go to school, why are they due forgiveness?
Everybody has a different story as to why they need student loans. Everybody has a different reasoning as to why they want to go to college. I cannot speak for everyone.
Why is forgiveness due to them?
What we have been very clear about is the student loan system needs to be fixed. The president is trying to do that and fix it in a way where people are not feeling that crushing financial burden that they deal with when they leave college. And that,
how does that fix the system? Hand to God. How does you relieving people's student debt do anything to the system? Wouldn't that incentivize people to go take out more debt, knowing the fact that the Democrat Party is going to sit there and give them a handout? Doesn't that incentivize bad behavior? This lady's an idiot. These people are idiots, man. And somehow they get $180,000 for this job. Really? She sucks.
that is something that they shouldn't have to. They should be given a little bit of breathing room. That is something that, by the way, that's something that majority of Americans agree on, to be given a little bit of breathing room so that they could.
More than half disagree
Well,
with
that's
using
one
tax
poll.
dollars.
That's one poll.
But
That's one
a
poll.
follow-up question, if you
Yeah,
will.
sure.
Does the administration think that student loan debt cancellation contributes to inflation?
What we believe is student debt cancellation gives an opportunity for Americans to start a life, to buy a house, to start a family. That adds to the economy. That is also important to the economy.
Hey, we're going to relieve your debt so that you can go out and take a mortgage at these types of interest rates, which is probably a terrible idea. If you can't pay off your student debt, there's no fucking way in hell, forgive my French, that you should be going and taking out a fucking mortgage. Are you insane? You can't sit there and pay off your student debt, but hey, we're going to give them a little bit of breathing room to go take out a massive mortgage and put themselves in the crippling debt again, but they're just betting on themselves. They're just betting. Don't worry, there'll be another handout from the Democrat Party to pay off their mortgage again. Holy crap. I don't mean to cuss, but anybody else seeing this wild stuff coming from the Democrat Party, it ain't coming from Republicans. The crime ain't coming from Republicans. The massive illegal immigration isn't coming from Republicans. The crippling debt isn't coming from Republicans. It's all coming from the Democrat Party, transing your kids, giving them hormone blockers, puberty enhancements or puberty blockers, hormone enhancements, lopping off their genitals, teaching them how to masturbate. All this crazy shit is coming from the Democrat Party. None of it's coming from Republicans. And she's going to sit there, well, they want to go after your medical care and chisel hair, Social Security. No, they don't. Everything that they come up with that's against Republicans is fabricated. It's lies. I can't believe. Well, he just took out a bet and it didn't work out, so we're going to pay for it. It's so insane. I know you're all riled up. I'm right there with you. Hopefully you feel the frustration on my part and we can sympathize together. You know what I mean? We're going through this shithole together, you know, of this administration. It's still the greatest country. Don't get me wrong. I'm not complaining about the United States of America. I'm complaining about the Democrat Party and their running and handling of this country. It's devastating. It's terrible. Well, it's the system's broken, so let's not do anything about the system and let's just kind of, you know, pay off people's debts. Even though completely breaking the law, Supreme Court has already come out and said multiple times now, hey, you know what? This is an overreach of the executive branch. You can't do that. Joe Biden gives him the double middle finger and does it anyways, and nothing happens to the guy. So he could sit there and just completely forget about the actual law itself and, you know, do whatever he wants to do when it works in his favor. When it doesn't work in his favor, he's not going to execute the laws in the books. Speaking of illegal immigration, he can execute the laws in the books. He doesn't want to do so, and we'll see that from Jackie Heinrich in just one moment. But one thing I want to mention regarding illegal immigration before we jump back into the White House press briefing with Wonder Woman, like I mentioned, Jackie Heinrich, is you have this wild story right here. Rotting human remains and children raped. Why U.S. Border Patrol suicides have skyrocketed under Biden. Things are so bad. It's so terrible there that now our Border Patrol agents are killing themselves because of the things that they have seen. That's how bad the border is, and Joe Biden doesn't want to do jack bleep about it. So multiple U.S. Border Patrol agents have described how the horrors they encountered during their job, including rotting human remains and children who have been raped while being overwhelmed by waves of migrants during the Biden administration, have driven up suicide rates among the ranks. Frustrated agents working the U.S.-Mexico border opened up about their grim encounters in wide-ranging interviews with the Free Press on Wednesday, detailing how conditions are leading to a spiral mental health crisis. We regularly see what people should never see, like rotting human remains, abuse of every kind, babies and kids dying or dead, said one veteran Border Patrol agent. You know, we covered this years and years ago when the Biden administration first started. You had this massive increase of an invasion taking place, and ranchers would say, hey, you know, about like, we'd see one dead person on a ranch in Texas, you know, about every decade or so. Now they're seeing hundreds of bodies on their property just strewn out because of what Joe Biden's allowing to happen. As I've mentioned, this dude funds terrorism, giving the Taliban $40 million every 2 weeks. He gives the Iranians $10 billion of humanitarian aid, which is fungible funds, to sit there and allow them to now spend other parts of their budget funding terrorism when they're the leading sponsor of terrorism. This dude sits there and has created a multi-billion-dollar industry for drug trafficking at the southern border. He's created a multi-billion-dollar industry for sex trafficking at the border. He's created a multi-billion-dollar industry of human trafficking at the border. Joe Biden did create 15 million new jobs, you guys. It just wasn't American jobs. It was jobs for the cartel, these violent gang members, these drug lords. Those are the jobs that Joe Biden's creating. Joe Biden creating jack shit here in America. He's just giving handouts to everybody else across the world with your hard-earned money. So this is what's going on at the border. And Jackie Heinrich calls out Karine Jean-Pierre here regarding what's going on at the border and why Joe Biden hasn't used executive action to solve it. He's more than willing to use executive action to, you know, pay off people's student debt or use executive action for this and that, but not when it comes to the border. But don't worry, we are told they're doing everything they possibly can regarding solving this issue. Here we go.
Okay, Jackie.
Thank you, Karine. On the border bill, Schumer isn't even allowing amendments, and this exact text failed before. So how can this be seen as anything other than a cynical attempt to try to show Americans that Democrats care about the border?
I mean, I don't know how cynical, I don't understand how that would be cynical when it sounds like Senator Schumer's trying to do his job and move forward a piece of legislation that had bipartisan support, that was negotiated in a bipartisan way that majority of Americans care about. He's trying to move that forward on behalf of not just, obviously not just of what the negotiators wanted to get done in that bipartisan way, but also this is something that the American people want to see. They want Congress to take action on this particular issue. I'm not sure how.
Do you see that sleight of hand there? Well, this is what the American people want to see, and I promise we'll come back as Jackie Heinrich does a fabulous job here in this line of questioning. Really doesn't let her get away with this bullshit that she's spewing here. they're saying this is an issue that the American people want to see solved. Correct. But the route that you're going isn't going to solve the issue, and I will show you the proof. The proof is in the pudding. We've covered it before. Nothing that they're proposing. I will show you what she actually put on the plasma TV here at the end of the segment. None of it actually solves the massive invasion that's taking place at the southern border. But this is what the American people want to see resolved. Then why don't you put something forward, like maybe using executive action to stop the bleeding or the invasion happening at the southern border, and then we could talk about other avenues of actually fixing the border, like maybe build a border wall. They don't want to do any of that. But let's let her finish here. We'll let her finish, and then we'll show the proof.
How cynical, why that would be cynical.
Well, because this exact text failed, and he's not allowing for any changes.
Look, I'm going to let Senator Schumer do the work and move that forward. It is his decision to make that decision. We support it, obviously. We've been very clear about supporting that, about wanting to see that negotiation, that plan move forward. We want to see that happen. We want to see that happen. Now it's up to Republicans to decide if they want to deal with this issue that matters, again, to majority of Americans.
You opened the briefing by saying it's up to Republicans to do something to solve the problem or continue to use it as a political issue. The president has the authority to do something about this unilaterally. Congress is in a divided government right now. Why isn't he doing anything?
Well, why should he have to do it unilaterally? Why should we do it in a legislative way? And let's not forget that.
Well, why wouldn't you do the student loan debt forgiveness in a legislative way then, Karine? If it's so important to do everything through the legislature, why the fuck are you using executive action to push forward student loan debt forgiveness? Answer me that one, Karine. I don't mean to cuss, but this shit pisses me off, you guys. I'm so tired of us just throwing money out the door when we're $35 trillion in debt, and she sits there every single day and spews a bunch of garbage on that podium, and people just, this is great, this administration, you know, they're running the country. Joe Biden's going to make America great again. No, he isn't. He's driving America into the ground. Donald Trump is going to make America great again. This person does nothing but lie through her freaking teeth each and every day, and it drives me up the wall. And trust me, I see your comments. I know you can't listen to the lady, but we got to document this stuff because it's helpful to sit there and hopefully reach to a new audience. We got a lot of independents that watch this show, you guys. Okay, it's mostly actually independents rather than conservatives or Republicans that hang out with us in here, and they see the crap too. And I think that's in part to a little bit of what this channel does in calling out the hypocrisy of the Democrat Party and the Biden administration. What she's doing here is absolutely fabrication. It's not true. It's make-believe. Wild stuff.
That negotiated
before to undo some of.
Wait, so you're right. He took many executive actions before. But in order to deal with what's happening at the border, in order to deal with a broken immigration system, you need law. You need legislation. You need it to happen in a bipartisan.
She literally just said the student loan system is broken. But he's going to use executive action for that. Now she's saying the immigration system is broken, but we're not going to use legislature. We're going to, or we are going to use legislator. We're not going to use like executive action. So one's going to be executive action because it fits their narrative and basically buying votes. And the other one, they're going to sit there. Oh, well, we got to use a legislature all of a sudden when the system's broken. Both systems are broken. One's executive action. The other one's legislature. Huh. Pretty weird.
Way. And there was negotiated. It was negotiated. There was an agreement in the Senate. Republicans and Democrats came together. You just said it's broken, it's divided, to be more clear. And they came and they did that. And so that matters. We've been able, during this past 3.5 years, to move forward in a bipartisan way on many legislation. So this one is important. Why can't we do that here?
Well, just because in the framework through which it's coming up again, not allowing for any changes, no indication this vote's going to be any different. And it looks like, if anything, bringing up this vote again and setting it up to fail again is really just an indication that Democrats know that they're vulnerable on this issue.
So here's what I'll say, is that I'm going to leave it to Senator Schumer. I'm going to leave it.
And she doesn't say anything. I know you guys aren't stunned by that, but she doesn't say absolutely anything about solving the issue. And I promised you I'd show you the screen. I promised you I would show you the screen. Let me find. I got to actually pull it up in real time of what they're saying in regards to their solution to solving the illegal immigration. So here it is. Here it is. Yeah, we've covered this in the past. Now, previously, one of the solutions, I'm not even joking, was to give funding to transport illegal immigrants from one sector of the border to the other because they were actually impacted at certain sectors of the border early on in the Biden administration. Or it was to fly them or drive them to the interior of the United States in different facets and different modalities of transportation. So You have here, for those on audio, it says the bipartisan border security agreement would deliver 100 plus new machines to detect illegal fentanyl. 12 doesn't solve illegal immigration. Again, the whole purpose here is to solve the problem of this massive invasion that's taking place. You let me know which ones actually does this, because none of it does. 1,200 plus new U.S. immigration and customs enforcement personnel. By the way, that's not actually necessarily going to the border. That's just to help with processing people into the interior of the country. And the same thing here. New U.S. Customs and Border Protection personnel, same exact thing. These boots aren't necessarily going on the ground. It's to help administrative work and filing paperwork of solving this whole issue, which she actually spoke volumes to in the actual press briefing herself, going, well, instead of it taking years to get somebody processed, it's only going to take months. Awesome. So now instead of taking years, it's going to take months to allow them to come into the interior of the country and cut the line and break crimes. New asylum officers and staff for U.S. citizenship and immigration services. So that's the part she also highlighted there. Let me know, of those four, what actually stops this invasion from happening? You let me know, because not a single one in my mind, from what I've seen for going on 4 years now, of whatever they've come up with, doesn't solve it one damn bit. There's an invasion taking place. The Biden administration doesn't want to solve it, and it's just as simple as that, you guys. He just doesn't want to do it. I mean, we got to look at just the most basic formality of Joe Biden. If he wanted to solve it, he can use executive action. That's not an overreach of the executive branch. Laws are already set on the books, clear as day, for him to sit there and seal up the border. We got terrorists pouring across the border. We got violent gang members pouring across the border. We got illegal immigrants that are killing Americans and raping babies and families and women, all this stuff. Joe Biden doesn't care. He loves it. I told you guys, Democrats love this stuff. If you didn't, why would you continue to vote for it? Look at Chicago. They must love illegal immigration. They must love crippling their budget. They must love homeless. They must love having all their stuff in their grocery stores and their Targets and their Rite Aids and CVS's being locked up, or having businesses flee like we see in San Francisco and Sacramento and California. If they didn't like it, you guys, why would they keep voting Democrat? There's only one way out of this. Stop voting Democrat. Democrats, God, they don't get it. Well, speaking of Democrats and nonsense, Illinois politicians aim to change the word offender to justice impacted individual. Notice that you can't call illegal aliens illegal anymore. They're called newcomers now. You notice what they did there? A little switcheroo. Exactly what they're trying to do here, because people are triggered. People are offended by words. You hurt my feelings. Illinois Democratic state lawmakers are aiming to change the word offender. I can't even get it out. This is such a joke. It's real. Justice impacted individual with a new bill. Democrats are so soft. House Bill 4409 will amend the Illinois Crime Reduction Act of 2009. There's an oxymoron. or irony. Of change 2009 to change references from offenders to justice impacted individuals. Among other changes, according to the summary of the bill. There has to be a gem in here. Can we just finish this little bit here, then we'll move on? Over and over again, we keep changing the name of how we are referring to those who have entered into criminal activity, and each time we make that change, each agency has to make that change on every one of their documents. Right now, in the Department of Corrections, there's multiple changes that have been made, and it's costing thousands and thousands of dollars just to do a name change. Why is it necessary to make a name change? Well, because people get offended, you guys. They're offended over criminals and the way that we call people criminals, in the same way you can't call somebody an illegal alien anymore. They're now just, they're a newcomer. And then when newcomer becomes such a bad term, and because they can't take it, they get triggered, then they're going to come up with a new term you got to call somebody. The Democrat Party is very good at taking hold of the language. When you take a hold of the language, you take a hold of the culture. When you take a hold of the culture, you take hold of politics. When you take hold of politics, you destroy this country, which is exactly what you're seeing from the Democrat Party. Now, I told you I'd keep you up to date on Trump's hush money trial. It's hush money. It's not really hush money, right? We talked about, hey, there's this guy named Michael Cohen. He was kind of the orchestrator, the facilitator of this hush money going to Stormy Daniels. And it came out on the podium under oath that he was willing to lie under oath just to sit there and get Donald Trump back. This guy admitted to stealing $30,000 from Donald Trump on the podium under oath. So he already admitted, I'm willing to lie. He already admitted to stealing, being a criminal. And check this out. This dude's lawyer said this. An attorney for former President Donald Trump's ex-lawyer and fixer, Michael Cohen. I can't do this. Claimed that he was more credible because he told the truth about the times he had been dishonest in the past. Oh God, I'm turning red. I'm so sorry. I'm sweating. It's ridiculous. These people are idiots. I understand the thinking behind it. I'm crying. Oh God. I understand the thinking behind it. Nobody thinks this guy's truthful. You know, I mean, honestly, if that guy walked up to you, you really believe him? So, Michael Cohen's lawyer to Jen Psaki, the circle back girl, the other one that also lied to us for about 2 years. The takeaway here is that he made his peace with his admittedly checkered past. He was also thoughtful about the many lies and mistakes he made along the way. But don't worry, you should believe him. You should believe him now with his checkered past. The fact that he stole $30,000 from Donald Trump and admittedly said he's willing to lie on the podium under oath. But you should believe him. And you know, he's more credible now. Oh yeah, no. This guy's really credible. It's just remarkable. I'm telling you, we live in an ass backwards world. Really ass backwards. Well, ending off with this note here, Disney has begun major layoffs. And I'm talking major, you guys, like 20% of Pixar animation studios is about to be just let go. Already 14%'s gone, and it's going upwards of 20. You go woke, you go broke. It's been a while since we've done one of these. Disney has begun major layoffs at Pixar animation studios as part of a proposed cost-cutting measure it announced earlier this year. Nearly 200 people, or about 14% of the company's workforce, will be let go as part of the biggest restructuring in the history of the studio. However, none of the layoffs will affect top leadership. The reason why that is so important, we got a lot of new viewers here. We got a lot of subscribers. We've had a lot of growth this year and last year. Is there was leaked video of a meeting with top executives at Disney, specifically for their animation in their studios in terms of film work. And what they said was they wanted 50% or more of their lead characters to be trans, basically part of the LGBTQ community. It's the top leadership that are making these decisions. It's not the animators. The animators are just doing what they're told, right? They're just drawing or creating stuff on Maya or whatever kind of software they're using and just doing the day-to-day. It's the top executives that are making the decision that's crippling this company, and they still can't get it through their thick skull of why they're sitting there being crippled by their top leadership, and it's the executives that should be let go, not the people at the bottom. So it's truly a remarkable thing, and that's probably the most important sentence right there. How many words is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 words. Most important 9 words in this entire article was right there, because it's the executives that should be let go, not these bottom people. I don't want to call them bottom people. They're the workhorses. They're the ones that get this stuff out. So in January, Reuters reported the layoffs could go as high as 20%, bringing the total number of employees at the studio to under 1,000. So Pixar is going to focus on future films. They're not going to go direct to streaming services anymore because, Disney Plus isn't working out either. They're losing a ton of money on that. Variety reported on February 2023 that Iger said on the company's earnings call for the final quarter of fiscal year 2022 that the company will reduce its workforce by 7,000 employees. But don't worry, guys. The economy's doing fine. The economy's doing great. Yet you have Amazon laying off like 10 to 15,000. Microsoft's doing another 10 to 15,000. Walmart's laying off people left and right. Target's laying off people left and right. Disney's laying off people left and right in the thousands. It's not like we're talking about hundreds here. No, we're talking thousands upon thousands of people just let go. And then you're being told, hey, everything's fine. Oh, it's fine that you're paying, your grocery bills increased 25%. Oh, your energy prices have increased 50 or doubled in certain places. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. But we understand your kitchen table issues. Joe Biden's going to sit there and solve it. If he hasn't solved it in 4 years, I'm speaking to the Democrats here, like, how long do you think he needs? Just let us know in the chat. We'll all listen to you. Yeah, we'll listen to your comments. We won't be mean, will we, guys? We're not going to be mean to the Democrats. You tell me, you libs. What do you think, in terms of a time frame, Joe Biden needs to solve this issue? Do you think it's going to be another 4 years that somehow he's just going to roll out of his dumbass bed and just think, well, I figured it out. Yeah, if we just do this one thing, it's all going to be solved. So you let us all know, because clearly you guys got your ish together. We're the idiots, right? We're the racists, we're the bigots, we're the sexists, we're the conspiracy theorists and all these things. You let us know, because you're holier than thou, you're wiser than the rest of us. How long does Joe Biden need to figure this shit out? How long does he need? How long does he need, while we're at it, how long does he need to figure out inflation? How long does he need to figure out the economy? How long does he need to figure out his foreign policy? How long does he need to figure out the invasion at the southern border? You let us know. How long does he need to figure out the crime problem that's happening in all Democrat-ran areas? How long does he need to figure out the homeless problem? How long does he need to figure out the national deficit? Like, how long does he need? You let us know in the comment section below. Would love to hear from you. Really, really would, because Donald Trump turned things around in 2 years. We went from a shithole thing like Barack Obama being in office to Donald Trump, make America great again in 2 years, and he had a COVID unleashed upon the entire globe. So you let me know how long Joe Biden needs. We'd love to hear from you. I guarantee you guys don't have an answer. Guarantee you. Not one of them. So that's what's going on in the world today. Woo! I felt good about this episode, folks. I really did. We've been making the announcement here. If you're an avid listener and viewer of the Bald Brad Show, if you could support us by watching the videos all the way through, and if you're hearing this message now going, shoot, I stopped, but I'm back. If you could just play it all the way through. What I do is I just pop it on my TV. I mean, I'm recording it, so I guess it's a little bit different, but when the show goes live, I pop it on my TV and I just let it run. I hit the like button. I leave a comment down below on a friend's account. And that way it helps the analytics sit there, and hopefully YouTube will see those and say, hey, people are engaging. They love your channel. They're subscribing. They're liking. They're leaving a comment, and they're watching all the way through. We're going to send this out to more people, and then we can grow more of a grassroots way that way. If you want to go above and beyond, we do have a membership here. 99 cents a month. You might be thinking, Brad, nothing ain't 99 cents. 99 cent store just went out of business. No, folks, 99 cents a month. A month. You can support this show. We would love to have you join the Bald Brad Army. You need a credit card or a debit card. Link is in the description. There's a join tab down there. Also, if you just want to give thanks to this video, there's give thanks. You guys donate, but don't feel like you have to. I'm not pushing you. I almost said not pulling your finger. I don't even know why I would say that. But please don't feel like you have to. It's just there because people ask all the time, and it saves me time from writing a bunch of emails and then commenting to people and all those other things. So if I could just get it out to the masses while I'm here, might as well do so. We have a book called Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. Please pick up yourself a copy today on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Walmart, I think, is still carrying this. You can get the paperback version for pretty. I was on Amazon today. You can get it for pretty cheap. There's a good deal. Kindle's like $8. Great deal on Kindle. And we got shirts, hoodies, mugs. We got all of it, folks. Support us if you can. The merch, there's no profit being made. So if you're like, the prices are really high, that's just what the distributor and the people that make them charge. But none of it's going to my pocket. With that being said, that is it. Thank you so much for always supporting me. I will be back here hopefully tomorrow, folks, with another episode of the Bald Brad Show. Let's hope. Thanks, don't go. Let's hope something positive happens tomorrow, okay? With that being said, I'll see you next time here on the Bald Brad Show.